the Warehouse Podcast, everyone. My name's Elijah. Here today, to talk Orioles baseball, but as I typically do every time I get on to record these, in kind of deciding what I want to talk about, I go and I surf the baseball websites and I say, what have the Orioles done recently? Who's been doing what, whatever. And in pulling up Baseball Savant, the first thing that you are drawn to is a note on the homepage. I am recording this on May 2nd. It says, Happy birthday to Sarah Langs. Sarah is a vital and loved part of the baseball family. Her birthday is Saturday, May 2nd. Since no one loves baseball or birthdays more than she does, check out the birthday index to see which players perform the best on their own birthday and click here to contribute to Project ALS in her honor as the baseball world helps in the fight to find a cure. I read that, and if you have not been, privy to I guess the developing story that has been Sarah's condition over the last couple of years, it's obviously made a lot of waves in the baseball community. There is a really wonderful shirt that I have that says "Baseball is the best" across the chest, one of her, signature phrases, so to speak. Um, and they line up the A, L, and S to say "End ALS" kind of down the heart of it. And I guess to back up a little bit, like Sarah is somebody who, really like was known in the baseball community just purely for her work as a statistician. If I'm remembering correctly with ESPN, maybe it was MLB.com, but either way, she did a lot of work, but then she was also part of the first all-female broadcast. Started like making more television appearances, was very, very much a present and not that a person should be judged on their value, so to speak, but just like this hugely, hugely valuable member of the community. And she contributed these really, really like niche facts that I mean, this is what she does, and she still does it. Don't get me wrong. She just is fascinated by the nuances and intricacies of stat lines, and uh, that's always been something that's compelling to me. I get on here and I talk about numbers all the time, of course. Um, and yeah, I mean, seeing her kind of fade from the public eye as ALS has obviously taken a heavier toll on her has been, um, I obviously don't know her or anything like that, but it's been difficult. You see people that you respect and idolize in these ways, and to see them kind of fading from the public eye is really sad. So, just wanted to shout out Sarah. She always says birthdays are the best whenever anybody has any sort of, um, hits a home run on their birthday, has a good start, whatever. Or I'm sorry, she says birthdays are important. Baseball is the best. Birthdays are important. And so we are here to wish a happy birthday to Sarah Langs. And if anyone is able, there is a link directly from baseballsavant.com to go ahead and contribute to Project ALS. I promise you I have done so. Um, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Happy birthday to Sarah Langs, and appreciate all of her contributions to this wonderful world of baseball that we have. And as I said, right there, it will pull up a Project ALS link. So what I did come up with though, after I got over the initial like, oh my God, it's Sarah's birthday, and threw out an obligatory Blue Sky post about it. I came up with Jeremiah Jackson as the thing that was worth talking about. Looking back at the past week, I think one of the coolest things was just the two grand slam 10-run onslaught that the Orioles laid down. So I wanted to just kind of dig into Jeremiah Jackson a little bit. It's kind of funny. He's like just kind of barely above league average with the bat. Obviously, he's not playing full time, but close to it. He's running a 768 OPS. He's got more home runs than he hit last year already. He's looked pretty good. Hilariously, he is not walking at all. He's in the first percentile in walk rate. That is a 1.9%. So, one in every 50 times he gets up there, he's going to walk. It's not a lot, but he's not striking out all too much. so it keeps the OBP, and he's hitting for a reasonable batting average, so it keeps the OBP in a just not great situation as opposed to catastrophic, I guess I'll say. So, what is he doing well though? I mean, he squares up the ball. He he barrels it up at a reasonable rate. He takes a lot of swings, but kind of does what he can with those swings, I guess is the point I'm making here. Um, and I was just kind of like looking at how he does that. I think one of the first things to look at is just his spray chart. He goes ahead and just pulls everything. Um, there are people who've kind of made a living doing this. I think the two best examples are like Alex Bregman and Isaac Paredes. Both of those are just pull air merchants. They yank the ball. They Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's why the Astros were so infatuated with both of them. That's why Bregman was a great fit in Boston because the Astros obviously have the Crawford boxes in left field, and the Red Sox famously have the Green Monster, both of which make soft but in the air contact much much more valuable at those two stadiums. Um, the Orioles obviously do not have a similar situation. Although we moved it back in, we do still have a pretty deep fence in left field. But you know, pulling in the air is good. Pulling in the air is how you generate the most bang for your buck. We talked about it last year, at the beginning of last year when Cedric Mullins was on a heater. This is what he was doing really well. He was elevating the ball in the air, despite the fact that he does not have you know insane bat speed, which is very much the same case with Jackson here. Um, he has 60th percentile bat speed, but I'll talk a little more about why that's maybe not the best, most representative thing in a minute here. Um, but so like said, did not have great bat speed. Jackson has very slightly above average, at the point of contact. But in order to make the most of that, you really need to optimize what people talk about as the batted ball profile. And the most damage is to be had when you are pulling the ball in the air. And that's what Jeremiah is doing. The way that he is going about it is kind of leaving him open to uh, to a couple things here. So I guess the first thing I'll show is, he he basically he gets his swing to this very very ideal attack angle. This is basically relative to the ground how much you're swinging up or down. And the optimal way to attack the ball from that perspective is kind of lining it up with the launch angles that you really want. And so assuming you're going to hit the ball flush, you want to be swinging slightly up on it. And that is defined on Baseball Savant as anywhere between 5 and 20 degrees, and how often you're swinging in that range. Every once in a while you're going to break down, you're going to like chop at something and it's going to look awful. But it's just about putting your best swing on as often as you can. And he is currently 28th in the majors in ideal attack angle, right? He's very very consistently getting to that ideal point where he's going to be able to elevate the ball. I guess I did not actually scroll down to the point where you can see he's like one in every five swings. He's pulling the ball in the air. I should say five, batted ball events, 5 times he makes contact. So he is pulling the ball in the air a lot. And yeah, part of it is very, very much this ability to get on plane and be there as you are making contact with the ball. Um, I was pretty fascinated by this, and I was kind of like Baseball Savant has these awesome, um, playable animations, kind of where they'll attach, you know, they don't literally attach dots, but they use um, just all this optical tracking that they have in the stadiums to kind of like pick these biometric hinge points and kind of give you this cool animation of what the swing actually looks like. But for Jackson, effectively what he does in order to get there is I've seen that he like really he will stop his momentum on the front foot and really like rotate around. And the kind of interesting thing about this, I guess I should also note, you know, he doesn't have elite bat speed, and so typically, you know, the way not typically, I mean, the way that a swing is going to work is you're going to go down and then kind of come back up on it. You know, you do not uh I mean, your hands are high and you can't immediately like just tilt them up and start swinging up. That's obviously not how it works, and the ball is lower. So, you know, the way that these swings work is you're going to effectively start swinging down first, and then that's going to come back up. And so, what you really need to do in order to do that, you know, in an efficient manner and like optimize this contact point, you know, whether you are swinging up at the right time, is, you know, effectively you need to be fast enough with your bat that you can hit it really, really far out front, far enough out in your swing that you're, you know, back to going forward. Um, or you need to have a really short swing. And Jeremiah Jackson does not have a short swing. He has, in fact, a pretty long one. I see it's not on this. Let me run back here. He's got a I'm not remembering where I was looking at this. Okay, here we go. Sorry. He's got actually like a pretty significantly longer swing than he had last year. It's at 7.7 feet, and the average, I believe, is about 7.2. Um, so he's got a, you know, pretty about an extra 6 inches of bat path to travel before he makes contact. And the way that he kind of accounts for that, despite the fact that he doesn't have great bat speed, is he goes ahead and I have to get back up. You know, he really like kind of sits back on his back leg. A lot of his weight is pretty far like back as he's making contact, and he, you know, is really like leaning backwards at the point of contact. His front toe is up in the air. Um, and this is also part of how he pulls. You know, he like really hinges and is kind of yanking forward, and you know the swing path is long, but he's also kind of clearing his body out of the way at the same time. So it's kind of hard, you know, but instead of like a door swinging on its hinge, it's like if the hinge were able to move back a little bit, the door wouldn't swing quite as far, if that makes sense. And so, you know, effectively what he's doing is this kind of like transfer of weight is enabling him to carry this longer swing and still be able to get contact out front at that ideal attack angle. Um, Unfortunately, what this does is it leaves him really, really susceptible. I think it's susceptible to like, in order to do this, right, he is trying to get the ball further out front in his swing, basically. Um, and effectively, what's happening is, you know, pitchers are throwing him slightly more breaking balls this year. I'm shocked it's not more breaking balls. If I were a pitcher seeing this sort of swing, I would be attacking him like all the time. I suppose we can do this a little bit. Yeah, so maybe he is actually seeing some more breaking balls as the season has gone on. A couple games recently, he's seen like 70% breaking balls. Um, so, you know, maybe pitchers are catching up to this to an extent, and teams are going to start game planning around it. But if you go ahead and you look at like where he is whiffing, um, down and away, he's just super, super, super susceptible. Um, like 23 of the I'm guessing around 50 whiffs. I'm not going to add all that up on the air. 23 of his like 50-ish whiffs have been down and away. Um, like we said, this is somebody who is trying to pull the ball, trying to, you know, yank it to left field. And that's what's going to happen is you're going to inevitably leave yourself open in that zone. Talking down here for those of you with me on YouTube. So he very, very much is, you know, geared toward a I, it's not entirely a single location because actually like some of his damage has come on middle out, and you know it's not I guess I'm trying to Um, Here we go. I guess I can pull this one up. Just batted balls by zone. Some of this damage and some of the contact is coming on middle out pitches. He is like willing to hit those. And he, has the like plate coverage to do so, I think. I don't, want to say he's like completely susceptible in the outer half, but um, he is really doing the damage, I think. Like three of the six home runs have been in this low and in location. Um, he really, is impacting the ball on that inner half when he can, pull like as the swing is geared to do. So, I'm kind of intrigued by it. It is, it's a way in which you can like achieve, um, reasonable performance despite kind of some subpar traits. And I guess the other thing I wanted to mention was I talked about his swing length a little bit earlier and the bat speed. Um, a lot of people talk about bat acceleration versus bat speed as kind of being, two sides of the same coin, but they each have their own merits. Bat speed is the thing that ultimately like translates directly into how hard you are hitting the ball. It truly is just how fast the bat is moving at the time you are hitting the ball determines, what sort of impulse you can impart on it, et cetera, et cetera. That's the physics aren't important, but it is the bat speed at the time you hit the ball that determines how hard it comes off the bat. Um, that said, your ability to generate bat speed is not really a manifestation or your ability to generate bat speed isn't really indicated by what your bat speed is. And what I mean by that is like you see he's had a 9/10 of a mile an hour bat speed improvement since last year, but he's swinging almost half a foot longer. So, that bat path has a longer and longer time to go ahead and actually speed up. Um, I guess if you roll way back in the day to like Popeye's cartoons, he didn't just punch you. He went ahead and he spun his arm around as I whack a controller on the desk here. He spun his arm around and he wound up. And, the ability to have a longer swing enables the ability to speed up your bat. So, the fastest swingers in the league, I guess I can go ahead and say this too. Um, Junior Caminero, he has an insanely long swing. Of course, I'm on the wrong leaderboard. Um, yeah, let's skip it. So Junior Caminero, Giancarlo Stanton, O'Neill Cruz, all of these guys have swings that are like, probably 8 feet, 8.1 feet, something in that order. And that is really like, of course, they are incredibly strong and can generate elite bat speed, but it is also true that they are selling out for this power, that they are taking these really, really long swings, and the ability to adjust mid swing when you are winding up as much as they are is more difficult. It reduces your adjustability in the swing. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say Jeremiah Jackson is susceptible to breaking balls and such. And the numbers really bear that out, right? If you go down to, I'm on, there we go. If you go down to just like whiff rates on off speed and breaking pitches, he's whiffing 40 to 43% of the time. He really, really, really is, like open to this. And again, like the fact that pitchers are throwing him 50% fastballs is ludicrous to me. Um, I expect it to adjust a bit, but you can kind of see like on the breaking balls, he does have a reasonable like 401 expected slugging. The real slugging is a bit higher than that because he's caught two home runs off of it, if I remember right. But it's right there. Three of his six home runs are on breaking balls. But I think like anytime you're running a 43% whiff rate, like pitchers are going to start hammering that on you. And he very, very clearly is better against lefties. That's one thing that was true last year and continues to be true this year. He is selling out for this contact, but that is more manageable when a breaking ball is moving towards you rather than away from you. I guess I do have it right here. You can see a 159 WRC plus against lefties this year, only 94 against righties. I did find one hilarious tidbit. Um, Jeremiah Jackson's batting average against righties is higher than his OBP this year. That is a funny quirk of baseball. Certain things like sacrifice flies are not factored into your on base percentage, but are factored into your average, just because of you know, I'm sorry, at bats versus plate appearances. So little oddity there, but he has not drawn a walk against a right-handed pitcher this year. He is striking out at a pretty reasonable amount. He makes so much contact that uh, the strikeouts are never going to be the issue. It's just going to be like suboptimal contact, really. He's going to ground out. He's going to do whatever. And so, it overall, the package is like fine right now, but I think that as pitchers start hammering these breaking balls against him, I am skeptical that it's able to keep up. Um, yeah, I don't know. I I don't quite see it. He's played a passable defense. He has ignoring the game against the Red Sox the other day. We're not going to talk about that. Um, yeah, he's been fine. He's a very, very usable, like serviceable piece, I think. And it's a pleasure to have him on the team for virtually nothing. Again, this was a minor league free agent. This is a bit of a development win for the Orioles. This is, great, great depth to have in the system, I think. And particularly, like, if you think Jackson Holliday is going to come up, excuse me, whenever his hand is healthy, he really struggled against lefties last year. Again, Jackson is like much, much less open to this kind of thing against left-handed pitching. There could be some sort of platoon there. And yeah, he's a useful piece. Do I expect him to keep hitting, multiple grand slams a month? I don't think that's in the cards for him, but it's been a treat to watch and, happy to see him succeeding in the way that he has. Pretty cool. Now, the one other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, I didn't do any prep for this, so to speak, but basically, there was a recent post by Mr. Andy Koska and Jake Rill and a number of other people. Trey Gibson is coming to the Orioles to make his his major league debut on Sunday against the Yankees. It's not, of course, the happiest place to make a debut, but it is what he's got. So we're gonna see what he does. This is just like his his pitch movement for this year. I think to back up on Trey Gibson, really I think what needs to be said about him is he rose through 3 levels last year. I did do an episode on him that broke him down a bit more in depth earlier in this during the off season still, maybe spring training. But he rose through 3 levels last year, was really, really dominant, had, unbelievable strikeout numbers. And then he got to AAA and his four-seam fastball really just got torched. It did not have really the movement that you hope to see. And the Orioles spent the entire offseason apparently just really, really developing this sinker that could serve as his primary fastball. Can see it's being used over 10% more than the four seam is right now. It's more sinker cutter than it is throwing this four seam. I think the most difficult thing is taking a bad fastball shape and turning it into a good one. If anybody knows how to train induced vertical break, knows how to train fastball shape, any major league team in America would hire them. Any major league team, not in America as well. I don't know why I excluded the Blue Jays from that, but it really it is an incredibly difficult thing to do. And the way ultimately that you train fastball shape is you stop throwing bad fastballs. And the Orioles have made that swap with him, right? This, the sinker is his primary fastball. He's using the cutter just as much as the four seam. The four seam is effectively like a change of pace. Um, if you look at the likes of the Brewers are the ones who are famous for this. The Yankees have picked it up a la Cam Schlittler, but the Tobias Myers, the Chad Patricks of the world, the Quinn Priester, Brandon Sproat, they're taking all of these guys who didn't really have overwhelming stuff in any way, shape, or form. They're giving them multiple fastballs and having them just hammer them 70-80% of the time. Now, we're not doing that, with Gibson, because what he does do well is he has this huge assortment of breaking ball shapes. You can see Duke Hill, the creator of Prospect Savant, is having a miserable time trying to classify all of these pitches, but he has effectively a sweeper, a curveball. This right here is a death ball. It's a specific type of curveball that I've talked about a bit before, but the idea is you're really trying to just get not a ton of horizontal movement and simultaneously get like 4 to 6 inches of drop. And that's a really, really reliable way to get whiffs. This, again, was started, I say again, from previous episodes, not because I've said it here, but Jordan Montgomery was one of the first to come and throw this shape. Kumar Rocker was pretty famous for it. That was his like signature pitch as he was rising as a prospect. And so this is a pretty unique shape. It's actually gotten a bit more horizontal movement than it had last year, which is a bit intriguing, and something I haven't stared at too much. But he's able to carry these like really distinct breaking ball shapes, and you could really even include his cutter in here, which is this brown blob. But he goes ahead, and you I guess we see like the Seth Lugos, the Yu Darvishes of the world who are able to carry, all these different breaking ball shapes and just kind of mix them in. And as a hitter, you can go ahead and you can pick up, oh, it is something that is breaking away from me as a right-handed hitter or breaking in toward me as a left-handed hitter. But then you further have to distinguish, okay, well, this one's 4 or 5 miles an hour faster. This one runs an extra foot to one side. This one drops an extra foot. And that added layer of deception, is really, really difficult to carry because it's hard to kind of train the muscle memory to remember all these different shapes in your mind, and not have them all blend together and you get one average breaking ball instead of these three distinct shapes. So he does have that, and it's really unique. It's super, super impressive, and I'm like very, very curious to see how that works. His success, kind of trading like back end of the rotation kind of guy versus middle of the rotation kind of guy. His success there will be determined based on like how well these fastballs play. He does, get some good separation between the four seam and the sinker, which is good for, for the sake of pairing them well together. If you're going to not have any one pitch be good, you want to have at least two that are average, I guess is the idea, and you can have hitters guessing which one is actually coming toward them. So it'll be really fascinating to see. This year in AAA, Trey has been okay. It's certainly not been bad. It's a 4.01 ERA across 24 innings. He struck out 25. He has also walked 12. So the walks are not what you want to see. But it's pretty early in the season, and the Orioles have a bit of a need. So we're in the middle of like 13 days in a row with a game, if I remember right. So it's not ideal, but we'll get his feet wet. The lights are not going to be so bright. Whatever the second time he comes up is, because it will not be Yankee Stadium on a Sunday. um, so it'll get his feet wet. We'll see what he's got, and he's going to try to bear that sinker in on Aaron Judge and get him to swing over the top of something soft away. Excited to see it. Happy for Trey Gibson. Major league debuts are obviously always, always, always exciting. And that's about all I've got. This has been the Warehouse Podcast. My name is Elijah. As always, if you could be so kind, Subscribe to us, follow us on your preferred podcast or YouTube platform. Um, YouTube platform, as if that's a category. Give us give us a rating, give us a like, and feel free to comment, reach out to us. You can email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com. Can also go ahead, reach out to us on Blue Sky, primarily thewarehousepod.bsky.social. And besides that, you can catch us here next time. My name's Elijah. It's been the Warehouse Podcast. Go O's.